Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Mike Lenz VO podcast. My name is Mike Lenz. I'm an entrepreneur and a full-time professional voice actor and audiobook narrator. My goal is to share with you stories from some of the most amazing and inspiring people from all areas of the voiceover industry to help you achieve your dream of becoming a professional voice actor. So please leave me a review over on iTunes and join us over on the web at mikelenzvopodcast.com to be notified of each episode when it comes out. Now, get ready to be inspired. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Mike Lenz VO podcast. So listen, before we jump into the show, I want to share some great discounts with you. One of them is from Voice123 and the other is from the LinkedIn Edge. These are two new affiliate links that I have that I wanted to share with you. In the show notes, I'll have a link for a 15% discount on a new Voice123 membership at the $395 level and up. Now again, this is for a new membership at the $395 level and up. I've had tremendous success on the Voice123 casting platform, and I have an affiliate partnership with them now that provides this amazing discount to my podcast listeners. But it's only available at the moment for the next 3 months. So if you want to get into the Voice123 platform, take advantage of this 15% discount and check out the link in the show notes. And you guys know how many times I've said how important social media marketing is to finding success in the VO industry. That's why I also have an affiliate partnership with my good friend Tracy Lindley to provide a $50 discount on her LinkedIn Edge course. I've been following Tracy's LinkedIn plan for years, and it has helped me connect with clients who actually hire me. It's a great course, so take advantage of this discount by clicking on the link in the show notes, and that will take you to an ordering page with the $50 discount already applied to the price. So both of these discounts can be found in the show notes, so check them out. And of course, today's episode is sponsored by VoiceSam and the Audition Ready online course. If you head over to mikelenzvopodcast.com and click on the VoiceSam sponsor link, you'll receive a 30-day free trial of VoiceSam. That's twice as long as the usual 15-day free trial. So take advantage of that. I love VoiceSam. I use it on my website. It's a fantastic marketing tool in addition to being a great demo player, so check it out for free. Also, click on the Audition Ready online course link and enter promo code ML20, that's ML20, and you'll receive 20% off Tim Tippett's Audition Ready online course. That's a savings of close to $100. Tim is amazingly gifted at cutting through the complicated tech side of VO, and he makes it really easy to understand. He has helped me so much in my career, and I know he can help you too. All right, so check out both of those offers over at mikelenzvopodcast.com. And also, if you're just starting out in VO and you're trying to figure out some of the fundamental things you need to do to create a solid foundation upon which to build your career, you can check out my VO Success course over at vosuccess.com. That's vosuccess.com. In that course, you're going to have a lifetime access to 5 modules with downloadable PDFs and over 2.5 hours of video content. And since it's lifetime access, as I add new information and modules to the course, you'll have access to all of it. We cover things like getting focused to make sure VO is a career you want to pursue. We talk about coaching and training, understanding the business side of running a freelance business, the importance of branding yourself and creating your niche, and of course, how to properly set up your home recording space. So check it out over at vosuccess.com. And if you'd like to do some one-on-one coaching or schedule a consultation to discuss your journey, you can do that over at the consultation page on my website at mikelenzvoice.com. And don't forget to sign up for my e-newsletter over at mikelenzvoice.com. Just go to the bottom of the homepage. You can sign up for updates on my journey and all the interesting things that I'm learning along the way. And finally, if you haven't already, head over to Facebook and join the Mike Lenz VO podcast Facebook group. That's where you can ask specific questions about each episode and interact with me and other members of the group. And if there's something we didn't cover in this episode, you can let me know in the Facebook group and I can get you answers. And I just started on TikTok as well, so check me out at Mike Lenz Voice over on TikTok, where again, I'm sharing tidbits of information that I've been learning in my journey, and hopefully that can help you too. All right, so on today's episode, my guest is Rosie Okumura. Now, Rosie is an LA-based voice actor, musician, and YouTuber. Rosie uses her voice acting and musical skills to prank internet and phone scammers. Great story. Having already developed a growing career as a voice actor, Rosie's life kind of careened off course when her mother was scammed out of $2,000. And we talk about that on the episode. She was determined to get her mom's money back, so she started investigating the dark world of online scammers. And she posted her first revenge phone call video on YouTube. And now, 1 million subscribers later, Rosie is one of the internet's most popular influencers, advocating for scam victims and embarrassing the people behind these crimes in hilarious ways. Rosie is known for her impression of Apple's Siri and Britney Spears. So sit back, relax, and listen to my interview with Rosie Okumura. Hey, Rosie, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's great to have you. I know we were talking before we recorded that we've sort of known each other through social media for a number of years, and we were kind of recounting when we first actually started communicating. And I've been following your career, and we finally got a chance to connect when I jumped on TikTok recently. And I'm like, I really want Rosie to come on the show. So I really appreciate you coming.
Yeah, I appreciate your TikToks. Welcome to the TikTok family.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm excited about that or I'm not sure yet.
It's one of those things where everything is changing all the time and we have to learn how to do new stuff all the time. And TikTok is, I have a TikTok following, but I still don't really know how to use it properly.
It's crazy. It's crazy. We'll get into that a little bit later in the show, the whole social media marketing thing. But
Yeah.
let's jump in with just having you share with our listeners what's your journey been like getting into the VO industry?
So, VO is something I've always wanted to do before I even knew there was a title for it. When I was little, I would, be in the bathtub reading shampoo bottles like I was on the commercial, or mimicking voices, or memorizing boring infomercials and reciting them for my family because they were just laughing all the time. Like, you sound just like it. And I don't know, I just loved to perform odd random stuff like commercials, things that kids don't usually they're usually learning songs or scenes from movies, but I was memorizing Pert Plus commercials and infomercials and all
It's good
sorts of
practice.
silly stuff. Yeah. So it's something I'd always wanted to do. I moved out to LA primarily to do music and maybe a little bit of acting. And it's voiceover is something I've always wanted to get into. And the opportunity would pop up, or people always say, oh, you should get into voiceover, you've got such an
Hmm.
interesting voice, which we'll get into that later, of that not being the one thing people should say to do it or hear to do it.
Right.
So I ended up saving up money and taking a class. I remember it was pretty pricey, but you get what you pay for. And I told myself, I'm going to put this on my credit card. It was one of those things where I got to do it now and
Hmm.
get on it and pay the money now or later, however it works. And so I saved up a few $100, took a group class. I had the option of group or solo, and I was told group is best, especially when it comes to getting your nerves out. And it was really important to do. And I went into the class very nervous. I've never done voiceover around other aspiring voice actors, working voice actors. And it was a great class, and I fell deeply in love with it and learned so much. And after that, I sort of took my music skills, a little bit of acting skills, and just kept researching, kept practicing, did a reel, sent that around, got an agent. And, you get an agent and you're like, this is amazing. And not a lot
I've
happens.
made it.
Not a
Yeah,
lot happens.
exactly.
It's like, okay. And,
Now what?
you feel like you're the most important person in the world. Fresh meat. Now I have an
Yeah.
agent. This is it. And then it's sort of crickets for a while because you're
Hmm.
not the only one. And I had, around that time, started doing research, and in that was listening to your podcast. And I remember
Wonderful. Thank you.
you're welcome. He did not pay me to say that, by the way.
This is not a paid endorsement.
A few episodes in, I had learned rather quickly to do research, study, keep practicing, and then self-marketing. And I was like, wow. So I didn't really have a journey. I didn't really have my journey start until I started learning the marketing end of it. Um, so basically, my journey includes a lot of your advice and your guests' advice on your podcast. So I took classes, took my musical skills and then randomly started doing YouTube videos, which is another part of the journey of my career, I guess you can say.
All the things you said are spot on in terms of just the journey is not necessarily an easy one. It's definitely not a linear one in terms of you do this and this happens. And I've said that a lot of times on the podcast that, all of our journeys are different, but there's so many commonalities in people that have gotten into the industry and then have had success. And that is that, they got coaching. They started realizing that they had to reach out and access these resources that were available to them and start understanding the industry. And I say that over and over and over again. You really have to understand the system in which you're working. And the voiceover industry is a network system, and it's all about relationships. And it's about getting out there and learning from people that are better than you and honing your craft. And, a lot of people don't necessarily want to hear that. They just want to get their microphone and their computer and start, doing auditions and making lots of money. And it doesn't typically
Absolutely.
work that way.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. That's an interesting point saying you have to learn from people who are better than you, which sounds like great advice, but the first step is humbling yourself to be able to do that. And a lot of people have trouble doing that. I think we've all been there at some point,
Hmm.
but yeah.
Well, right. I mean, typically, you're a talented person, right? We're talented people in the sense that to even get into this industry, we have to have a certain level of self-confidence that we believe that we're pretty good at it. So then when all of a sudden things don't exactly work out the way we planned, it does take a little bit of time to sort of step back and go, okay, I need to kind of reevaluate what's going on here. And it's not to say that maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was. It's more like, well, I've got more to learn, that
Always.
there's stuff out there that I can access that's going to make me better.
Always.
So that's really, I think, the most important thing. It's all about learning.
Yes.
So, so when you said you moved out to LA, where did you move to LA from?
I've
Where were
I've
you?
lived all over. I moved to LA from Seattle, but I grew up in Chicago and Virginia, went to high school in Hawaii, and lived with my dad for a while, went to school at Michigan State University, but I moved to LA from Seattle. So when people ask, you know, where I'm from, it's either Virginia or Seattle because that's sort of where I mostly grew up. So,
That's neat, and it's nice that you kind of, as you were saying, your career took different directions. And I remember the first time I jumped in front of a microphone to take a class, um, I was hooked. I mean, I'm like, this is so much fun. I know that I have to keep doing this. I don't know how I'm going to keep doing this. I'm not sure how I can afford to keep doing this, but I know I need to keep doing this. And it's kind of when it gets to that point.
was it very different than you thought it would be once you took the class?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, I had been in politics and stuff, so you kind of know a little bit about my backstory.
Yeah.
But I'd been used to speaking in front of groups, and somehow you turned this into an interview of me. I'm not sure how you did that, but it was very skillful, very skillful. But the when I got in front of the microphone, so I was used to using my voice to communicate, but this was completely different because what the teacher was teaching me, he would have you probably did this with you too. They have you read a script and then they give you a few pointers and tell you, no, emphasize this word or look at it from this perspective, this
Mm.
POV. And all of a sudden you read it and it's so much better. And then
Mm-hmm.
you listen to your original recording and you're like, all of a sudden the light bulb goes off and you're like, I didn't even know what I didn't know. Well, how much more can I learn?
Right.
And that's for me was like this aha moment of, okay, maybe I can use my voice to communicate, but I don't know a thing about how to be a voice actor. So I need
Right.
to learn.
Yeah, it's the tiniest details that make a difference that only the pros and experienced people know to share with you and to teach you.
Yeah.
So yeah, taking classes is just the best.
It is. So you touched on the YouTube videos. Let's get a little more specific about that because you had a little situation that happened. I think you said with your mom when we were
Yeah.
you sent me some information, and that sort of led you down a path of creating some somewhat unique YouTube videos. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so I have a YouTube channel where I go by IRL Rosie in real life is what IRL stands for.
I didn't know that.
Yes. Some people think it stands for I really love Rosie, which, you know what? Keep it. I love it.
Sure, that works.
Whatever works
Why
as
not?
long as it's nice. So, a couple of years ago, my mom fell victim to a computer tech scam, which essentially is just she's using her computer, she gets a pop-up that says Windows, error, virus, call this number, your computer has been infected with all the logos and scary red exclamation points and beeping and crazy noises. And my mom's, she's a boomer. She's up there. We love Susan. And she just felt really scared and wrote down the number, called it right away. She shut off the computer because it was like buzzing and beeping and really scary. She calls the number. They tell her, "Ma'am, you have a virus on your computer." She didn't really know what to do because she doesn't want a virus. She doesn't know computers too well. She knows her Facebook and her games. So they say, "Why don't you turn your computer back on? Go to this website and we'll guide you through some steps. We'll get access to your computer and just do it for you." And she was like, "Great. Sounds like a deal." They're like, "If you just want to pay $4.99, you'll have an unlimited lifetime service of this. So if it ever happens again." And she's like, "Great. I don't want to have to call my daughters for computer help," which I love you, mom.
Ugh,
But if you need help,
yeah.
if my mom needs,
Give me a call.
it
Yeah.
really makes me want to cry, like just frustration wise with, she's like, "What arrow? What's right click? I'm clicking it right." And I'm like, "No." So she signs up for this program. She hangs up. She tells me, I just had the most annoying computer day." And I was like, "What happened? Uh-oh." And she tells me, "Oh, but it's fine. I paid a little bit of money for a program. They just did it for me." And I was like, "Mom, no."
Uh-oh.
Dun dun dun. And she was like, "Well, they just did it for me," which means they gained access to her computer where all of her stuff is saved. They can go to her bank login. It's already signed in.
Ugh,
They can access any little notepads of her passwords, her social security number, all of her information. We had to call the bank and freeze everything. We had to call LifeLock and do the social security number thing. It's just was such a mess. So I was like, "Mom, give me that number." She gave me the number because she had written it down. And I called them back and talked to them for a little bit. And I was like, "This is kind of funny," because I pretended to be someone else. And I was like, "I'm gonna get on a Facebook live stream right now just to be silly." This is before live streaming was really anywhere. It wasn't on Instagram yet. People weren't doing it a lot. And so I hopped on a live stream just for fun. And I had so many people watching and laughing. And I was essentially prank calling the scam call center with as many voices as possible to waste their time for as long as possible so that they couldn't call anyone else's mom.
right.
And it was just really funny. And people were like, "Do that again tomorrow, Rosie," everyone who was watching. And I realized, wow, I have my singing skills, my music skills, I have my voiceover skills, I have a little natural improv skills, and I can read scripts if I want to write down a funny thing. So I was like, "You know what? I'm just going to keep doing this every day." And I put together a little video just to see what would happen, and mainly to send it to family to see, like, "Hey, remember that guy who scammed mom? I made this video," and put it together. It's just kind of cute on iMovie. I didn't really do a ton. And someone had posted it on Reddit. I don't know this person. I didn't even know it was happening, and it just literally exploded overnight. It
That's
just went
crazy.
viral, which is like you want that to happen so bad. And I'll never forget the feeling of the rush. It was like it felt the same as those dreams where you find a bunch of money, but then you
Yeah.
wake up and you're like, "Darn it." But I never woke up, and it's just been that way ever since. And I've just been riding that wave and creating videos and learning so much about different scams and pranking people. And it forces me to practice every day because I'm using all
Sure.
these voices. It forces me to practice improv because I usually will do it on a live stream. And it's really nice because there's it's called scam baiting, where you call the scammers yourself and you try to bait them and keep them on the phone for as long as possible. There's a big community, or not big, but it's growing, of a few other channels. There's like Trilogy Media, Kit Boga, Scammer Payback, and we all do it in different ways. And for me, I primarily use voice acting as mine. Other people are more tech savvy and can gain access to the scammer's computer and delete their files. So it's a little small community where we all do things very differently, which reminds me of voiceover, where we're all doing the same thing very differently. And it's one happy family, not competitive. So, yeah.
I mean, it's a great thing that you're doing that, and but I think you did touch on this on one of your videos about you know these companies are like bad people, right? So maybe danger isn't the right word, but there is some danger, I guess, in the fact that you're kind of putting yourself out there as somebody that's scamming them. So you do have to take some steps, right, to keep yourself protected. Is it like encrypting and so they can't go back and trace your phone? Like this isn't something that people should necessarily just run out and say, what a great idea. I'm just going to go do that.
Right. I have the very cheesy line of "Don't try this at home," which is so cheesy, but I mean it.
But it's true. But it's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I number 1, make sure to keep things light. I don't get too deep and dark into it. The most I do is piss them off and they get frustrated and feel embarrassed, which I feel like is just
They kind of
piss.
figure you out and then they're like, darn it. You
Eventually,
just made me look like a fool.
sometimes it'll take over an hour, but it will happen. But for me, I will use, a fake number, a VPN, all sorts of stuff. And sorry, we've got a cat. Hold on.
That's okay.
Stop it, Junie. Thank you for the gift. She was like dragging a toy and like looking for. Anyway, so I take a lot of precautions by using, a blocked number, VPN, all sorts of stuff. I change my voice. I never use my real number. So there's a lot of things I can do to make sure that I keep myself safe. I never use my name. There's a lot of things. I don't recommend anyone do that. And there's ways that I can probably be even safer. But the safety is not getting too deep into it where some people hack into their webcams and like show them themselves or get places to raid a whole scam center, which is amazing and
Sure.
wonderful. Number 1, I'm not a hacker or anything, just a pranker. But yeah, there's a lot of things that can get scary, but it's for now, knock on wood, it hasn't gotten too scary for me.
Yeah. And some of and the voices that you do are fantastic. People who listen to the podcast will give them some websites and connections at the end of the show. But when you get an opportunity to watch Rosie, the and this ties in with the VO that she was talking about, and absolutely the improv, because your ability to switch voices back and forth very quickly and also kind of keep yourself focused where you're not like totally cracking up, even though I know sometimes that's really hard
It's hard.
to not do because, you're making fun of these people really. And it's like, it's funny, but you do like Britney Spears, you do an older lady, you do Siri, amazing ability to change your voice very quickly, which isn't easy to do. It's one thing to be able to do a voice, but then to switch back and forth in a split second and then have the ability to quickly type up something because you'll be looking for something for Siri to say, and you're actually like literally typing as you're talking to the person. Your mind is doing a lot of things all at the same time.
Yeah.
It's got to be a little bit
I
tricky.
believe it's called ADHD.
That can help. That could definitely help. Makes it a little easier.
I'm half joking, but also, it's that, but also, yeah, you just have to have all the tracks running at once. And improv is a lot of it. And funny enough, I didn't take my first improv class until maybe a month ago over Zoom with groundlings. And again, I was like, wow, why didn't I do this sooner? And wow, I didn't
Right.
think about this. So again, the importance of taking classes is expensive but wonderful.
Absolutely. Keep on learning. So we're going to take a very short break for a word from our sponsors. We're going to come back and talk about what it's like being a social media influencer. And you also had mentioned that you are a musician and some of the things you're doing in that world as well. So let's take a quick break and we'll be right back in about 2 minutes. Hey, everybody. I just want to talk a little bit about the sponsors of this podcast. The first one is Voice Zam. My friend Bob Merkel has a great product. You guys know, if you've listened to this podcast, I've been promoting it for a while because it works fantastic. It not only is a web-based demo player where you can stack your demos so that when you're sending them out to clients or people come to your website, they can easily click through and listen to your demos. They don't have to scroll through an MP3. They can actually see them stacked on top of each other. Great feature. And also you can use it as a marketing tool. And there's so many different ways that you can use it. And I use it all the time. So go over to voicezam.com and schedule a conversation with Bob Merkel. And also, if you go to the Mike Lenz VO podcast website, about halfway down the homepage, you'll go to the sponsors and you can click on that link and you'll get a 30-day free trial. Now, regularly, it's a 15-day free trial, but if you click on the Mike Lenz special deal, you're going to get an additional 15 days for free. All right, so check that out over at voicezam.com. Also, want to talk about my friend Tim Tippett's and his Audition Ready audio course. You can go over to his website at votechguru.com or go to the link on my website at themikelentzvopodcast.com. And you can go down to the sponsor link, click on that, and type in ML20. You'll get 20% off of Tim's course. That's, I believe, almost a $100 savings. So you're going to want to check that out. A fantastic course that teaches you about the technical side of what we do, which is equally important as the creative and talent side. So check that out as well. So again, I want to thank my sponsors, the VO Tech Guru and the Audition Radio audio course, as well as my friend Bob Merkel over at voicesam.com. All right, thank you so much. We'll get back to the show now. Okay, everybody, welcome back to the show. And Rosie, we've been talking about this path. We talk about, oh, our journeys are all different. Well, you didn't even see this one coming because, your mom obviously had that issue with the scammer, and that just led you down this whole different path that has really just exploded for you. You mentioned a little bit about what that was like, but you've really taken that ball and run with it. The Kelly Clarkson show come to mind. I mean, you've been on featured on news shows and been on the Kelly Clarkson show, and you have really taken this and run with it. And so tell us what that's been like, because you've expanded into other social media platforms. We mentioned TikTok earlier and YouTube and obviously Instagram, and you've kind of become, not kind of, you are really a social media influencer now. So tell us about that journey.
Ooh, an influencer. It has been quite the journey, and, there's pros and cons to both of it. And, YouTube happened. I gained 100,000 subscribers in, I think, a month and a half, which is crazy.
Wow.
It just kept going up and up. And when that happens, it sort of will bleed into other platforms or websites in different accounts for like viral videos. A lot of those viral pages, you go to like Viral Trends or Viral Hog, all those different pages I think they go to Reddit and they look for what's trending on Reddit, and they'll reach out to the people. So I got a couple offers like, hey, can we feature your video? For like terrible, terrible licensing. It was like, we'll give you $50. And I was like, oh my gosh, cool. Like, $50, which, no
I made
offense,
it.
$50 can mean a lot to people. And
Yep.
there's nothing wrong with that when that happens. You either get $50 or you don't. And
Mm-hmm.
those are one of the things where we'll pay you an exposure sort of does pay off, and it is sort of worth it. And everyone has their own opinion about stuff like that with the exposure thing. But in the beginning, when you don't have a lot to, work off of, you just take it, and it made my page grow and more people saw it, and then they link it to this and that. And so, the YouTube thing happened, then I got more followers on there. And then what I did was I made sure that my handle was the same on all platforms, so that if people were like, oh, I like IRL Rosie on YouTube, I wonder if she has Instagram. So I changed my name on there to IRL Rosie, made all the accounts match up. So you sort of, people will be guided through that and know where to go. So keep everything the same is a good bit of
Mm-hmm.
advice. And then you just have to put in the work, I had to sort of change how I posted on Instagram, not as many selfies, but more funny things, because that's why people are visiting the page. Sort of give the people what they want. Um, and then, you have to keep up with it. For the longest time, didn't really want to do TikTok because, I just was tired. I was like, we have to learn another thing.
A whole nother
We have to
platform.
learn
Yeah.
another. And then don't forget to post on Facebook on your page and this and that, and there's so much to keep up with, but it's work. That's what you do, and it's part of it.
Right.
And I just learned when to post, how often to post, what hashtags to use, and you just got to keep up with it. And even though it's annoying to learn, someone else is going to learn it and do better than you, so it's just kind of part of it. uh, and it just sort of weaves into each other, and all the platforms sort of run together in a certain way. And I will say, I'm very lazy on TikTok because all I do, which works, I just pull highlights from my videos on YouTube, the funniest parts or the silliest bits, and then I will edit it into a TikTok and just repost it. I barely ever post straight from TikTok. Because number one, I don't know how to do it. And number two, there's already so much content on YouTube. So I just sort of rotate everything around and it works and people like it.
Well, it makes sense. And plus, it also draws people to the other platforms because, the way that these platforms are designed now, it seems like the integration is becoming easier and easier to get stuff across platforms. And so being able to do that makes it a little bit easier, but it doesn't make it easy because you still have to produce content. And I know just from my own experience, just following other people on TikTok, because as you and I talked about before we recorded, I just kind of jumped on TikTok recently and am just trying to sort of be an observer. And try to post a video every day, but I'm just trying to be an observer and understand the platform. And you start to see people that have this level of success, and maybe you can kind of speak to this, and you sort of alluded to it earlier, is they might, in particular, let's say on TikTok, they jump up and they start getting a lot of views, and all of a sudden maybe there's a company that's now decided to like manage them, or they're become this entity that you sort of have to keep feeding the people that are searching for your content. And does that get to be a little bit of pressure? Like, does it start, as you kind of said, it kind of becomes a job, but it didn't start that way. So the process that you went through to sort of get yourself into a place where it's like, okay, I did this because I was really mad because my mom you know, got ripped off by these scammers. Uh-oh, this went viral. Oh my gosh, this went viral. This is amazing. Okay, now I've got to start creating more content and more content and more content and more
Yeah.
content. How does that change? Like, how does that evolve for you?
It was a lot because I just didn't expect it. If we're in the entertainment industry, there's a part of us or a lot of us that we want to be successful. We want to be quote unquote famous or
Sure.
someone or, recognizable on a platform. And so, of course, we all want that. Was I expecting it from a weird video of me pranking some man in another country? Like, because I was mad at my mom. That is the most random way to have a YouTube channel explode. And I was like, well, I'll do another one and see how it does. Let's see, because you can have one thing and then that's it. But then
Hmm.
the next one did really well. The next one did really well. I was like, oh my gosh, I guess I'm doing this now. And so it was a lot of pressure in the beginning because, again, like I said, the first video I made was I did it on iMovie really quick, put a little bit of effort just to put it together. And I was like, oh no, I have to learn how to do all this and how to be a YouTuber all of a sudden. And, how often do
Yeah.
I post and am I doing it enough? And are the people going to like it this time? Do I stray and try to do a singing video? How well will that do? So it was a lot of trial and error, and you have to do some wrong things to see what works and doesn't in order to
Hmm.
learn what does. So, I would try a couple things. Nah, I'll pull back from that and focus on that. So it was a lot of pressure to come up with the content because all of a sudden overnight I had, hundreds of thousands of people waiting. Like, okay. I was like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of people to,
And you don't want them to go away,
yeah.
right? Because there's so much competition out there for their views.
Yeah. And it feels so good. You're like, I have an audience? What's happening? Very cool. And then, I'm also a musician. So I was like, okay, well, I have to keep focusing on that and balance that and keep practicing voiceover. So it was a lot. And then, having all these different platforms, Instagram and TikTok and your Facebook page and Reddit and whatever else I'm forgetting and whatever else is going to come out tomorrow. It was a lot to juggle because you have to do things differently on each thing. And the whole TikTok thing is interesting because the algorithm is so strange and random and no one understands it. And my best advice for TikTok is to collab with someone else who's big on TikTok. That actually helped me a lot. I reached out to a couple pages and I was like, "Hey, I love your page. If you ever want me to do like a voice for like one of your videos, like let's collab." Which I hate
Mm.
saying collab all the time. It's like cringe. So is the word cringe. But I was like, "Let's collab if you ever need anything." So I ended up collabing with this guy Dylan who he has like the ice cream TikTok and he was actually a fan. And so I was like, let me do a voice for whatever. And it's another thing where I got paid in exposure, where
Yeah.
he was like, oh, here's this, and guess who the voice is, and I'll reveal it tomorrow. And then my TikTok page I gained like 20,000 followers from that. And then, the TikTok algorithm likes that because people are coming into your page. And then I don't know how the secrets of TikTok work, but collabing with other people is a really, really important thing on TikTok.
Yeah, and I found that just in my very brief time on it, that it's really robust in the sense that it really does allow you to be really creative in terms of what you're creating in terms of content. And it's obviously very fast paced, but the stuff that they let you do that, like we both have said, we've really only scratched the surface of what you can do with it and learning more about it every day. But there are so many kind of tools that they have that the other social media sites don't. So I think that's why it's garnered so much, following because it's it's creative.
Yeah.
It's super creative.
And you can learn a lot on there too. I think having an interesting niche and teaching people stuff or explaining how things work from the inside, people really love to see that. Even Dylan's ice cream thing, it was just a POV of him scooping ice cream at Cold Stone and it's crazy. I love him. He's great. He knows what he's doing. But if you like really get down to it, you're like, he has over 10 million followers of scooping ice cream. So it's
That's
like,
insane.
and people just want to know what it's like on that side. And I liked yours the other day when you were showing your errors on, what was it, statistics? You
Don't
were
make me say
showing,
it. I'm not going to say it. Stats.
yeah, exactly. But people like to see that. They're like, oh, that looks interesting on the screen. People just, it's boring to us because we see it every day. But for other
Yes.
people, it's interesting to learn. So I would keep doing
Yeah.
stuff like that and just showing a bit of that world. And so,
Well, people do like the behind the scenes stuff. There's no question on all the other social media sites that I'm on when I post stuff that is about like taking them inside the studio or telling them about what's going on in my day. They definitely respond to that more because they want to see behind the curtain, which is makes sense because we want to see behind the curtain. Like you said,
right.
people want to see what it's like to scoop ice cream and they want to whatever the topic is or whatever the area of interest that you have, it's you kind of want to know how that person's doing it because it's interesting to you. So yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense to
Yeah.
be able to do that. So let's talk a little bit about music because that is a big part of who you are. And like you said, one of the reasons you came out to LA and tell us about your group and what that's been like, what that experience has been like.
Yeah. I moved to LA wanting to be a solo artist because who doesn't want that?
Of
Lead
course.
singer vibes. And I moved out here. I collabed with a lot of producers and songwriters. And I got most of my income musically for doing demos for other songwriters. They would hire me to sing it. So a lot of these pop songs are written by, you know, 45 and older dudes who are writing songs for pop stars, Ariana Grande, and she does a lot of her own music, but for example. And so they write these songs and they need to pitch them to the artist. And they can't be a dude being like, "Oh baby, don't
Yeah,
break
let
my
me sing that
heart."
for
Yeah,
you.
it was Ariana and Kelly Clarkson. They're like, "What? Who is this man?" Like I can't envision myself doing that. So a lot of times they'll hire in singers for demos, and that's me. And I can make my voice sound similar to different artists, and so I would get hired in a lot to do that. And that's where I was making most of my money through music. So that was always interesting. And through that, I met a producer who put me in a girl group actually for a while,
Ooh.
it was an American version of K-pop. So there were 11 members. So I was in that for a while. I'm not going to say the name because we don't need to find those music videos. It
Come
was a
on,
good
tell us. We want to go
experience.
see.
The fans who have been with me all along, they know. And this will also force people to Google me, which will help the
There you
algorithm.
go. That's right.
Know what I'm doing.
Perfect.
So, and then after that, I met a friend through other music people. His name is Chris. He was already in an electronic pop project with someone, and he was like, "We're kind of struggling with, new songs and new hooks, and we want to bring in a new artist and a new member just to see where it takes us, to see if that's kind of what we've been missing." So I joined, and it was three of us, Alan, Chris, and me. And then Alan kind of stopped putting like a lot of effort into stuff. I don't think that Alan's listening to this podcast. No offense, Mike, but I don't I don't think that he's listening.
Probably
So
not.
I'll just say
That's
his
okay.
name. So Alan wasn't really doing much. And then it went back down to two, just me and Chris. And we've been working together for about almost 10 years. I've known Chris for a long time out here in LA, and it's electronic pop. It's very fun, it's very cool, it's very dreamy, and we have been recently working together to score TV shows, and we just recently wrote a theme song to pitch to a Netflix show. So we do all
Ooh,
kinds of different stuff musically. We've written music for other people and done remixes for other people. So he's definitely a Swiss Army knife when it comes to music stuff, my bandmate. So he's really fun to work with, and the band is called Moderns, and it's just us two,
moderns.
and we are on all streaming platforms.
That is great. And I know you were doing live stuff. How was the whole COVID situation? What did that have an impact and effect on your ability, obviously, to get out there and do some live stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely made a difference. We were able to do one live stream show at a venue called The Resident in the Arts District downtown LA. And what they did was they would rotate bands through the night and just live stream it on YouTube. And it was very strange performing a live show doing full out to an empty room.
To nobody. Yeah.
You have your rehearsals and you can go full out rehearsal, but just when you're finally performing, it feels really strange. Luckily the lights kind of blast in your eyes so you can't really see, but you can feel the difference. So we did that and it was interesting. We weren't in a rush to do it again, really, just because it was just not the same. And yeah, things have slowly started coming back. So we'll see.
Well, it's so smart to continue, number one, to pursue something that you're passionate about, and also just from a business sense, it's very smart to have different verticals that you're kind of working on at the same time, because we all know that, especially in the entertainment industry, things can ebb and flow, and it makes a lot of sense
Hmm.
because you're having tremendous success with the social media and the influencer work and the YouTubing, but the music is something that obviously is important to you, and it's nice to see that you're continuing to keep going with that, even in spite of the success going down this other path, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, and it helps. Our plays are up a lot more than they were a couple years ago just because people know I'm in the band and now they know of it. So that helps too. So it
Yeah,
definitely,
yep.
everything else
There's a
sort of
connection.
serves each other if you work hard enough and if you let it happen that way. So yeah, it's been
Definitely.
interesting.
Well, this has been a great conversation. I want to ask you before we wrap up, if you did have a single piece of advice, if you could narrow it down to just one, maybe one A, one B if you want, but just one
Yeah.
for an aspiring voice actor or somebody getting into the entertainment industry, because I know you do other things besides voice acting, but somebody that might be a podcast listener, what would be a single piece of advice for them?
Aside from research and training, which I feel like we've said a lot during this episode, and I feel like in the
Yeah.
past people have said, my advice for voiceover in particular is be really comfortable being weird. You have to be, I mean, for most of it, you have to be strange a lot. And like, I've been in a room or, in an audition where you're reading something and they're like, okay, well, now pretend you just got dumped and you're saying it on the phone and you're driving and do this. And you're like, oh, okay, you have to be weird really quick and be comfortable all of a sudden doing that. I've also been in a room where they're like, okay, I was a digital camera for a commercial, a cartoon camera, and it was for a rental insurance. And in the episode, the camera gets swept away by a flood. So they're like, okay, now pretend you're a little camera and you're drowning and you want to say the word, but you have like water in your mouth. And you're like,
Oh my
oh my
gosh.
gosh, I'm just standing here. I don't know these people. And it's the type of thing where like all the people are on the other side of the glass
Yeah.
looking at you. And you're like, I feel so weird. I have to be a drowning digital cartoon camera and say words. And then I think the line was like, help me. So I was like, help me. Like, and you have to sit there and do that all of a sudden in front of all these people. And I was like, you know what? If I wasn't such a weirdo, this would be really hard for me.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
difficult, but I had to do it right there right away. And I walked out of there and I was like, I can't think of a lot of people who would just do that. And you just have to do so many random things very quickly, and your brain
That's
has.
where the improv helps too, I'm sure. Doing the improv training helps a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah. So I would definitely say improv training and just being okay with being silly and weird is a lot of voiceover. So you have to move around a lot and act silly. I know with audiobooks, mainly your stuff is nonfiction, so I'm sure
Yeah.
you're not like flailing around, but
Not a lot, not a lot. Sometimes when I have to say that statistics word, I cringe, but that's about it. But
statistics.
yeah, yeah, that's hard. That's a tough one.
Yeah, it's
I'm
easy
not
to
gonna
say
lie.
by itself, but in a sentence, it gets tricky.
I know.
Yeah.
And it's in the book, I think, was like 260 pages, and it's in there 230 times. So
Wow.
almost one per page.
I would just
So
start copying and pasting it.
good times. I probably should. That probably would be quicker.
I do have a B part of the advice, which is save up money. It's expensive. There's ways to do things cheaply, but everything is so expensive. You know, if you want to be a voice actor, you
Yeah.
have to do the classes, you have to have a good computer with space, you have to have, an audio interface, you have to have a good mic, and all these places now, people now, clients now, especially after COVID, you better be able to afford to do this from home. Because I remember
Hmm.
first being a voice actor in my dreams and in my head, I would see myself in the booth, like in Hollywood, and you're behind the glass and you're doing this and then you leave. But now I'm in my closet that I've padded and soundproof with like foam and moving blankets in
Hmm.
my own house with things that I had to save up my money for. And if you can't do it from home, the next person will, and that's who they're going to choose. Sometimes they'll choose someone with, pretty good voice, but they can do it from home. So, you have
It's true.
competition with that as well. So be weird, save money.
Yeah. I mean, it's so important because that is what a lot of the decision makers are deciding is on how your voice, how the recording sounds,
Hmm.
as opposed to how your voice sounds. So they may get down to two or three people that they're having a hard time deciding between those three, and the person that's probably going to win the audition is the person whose quality is the best.
Yeah.
And so having the right equipment and the right treatment of the place that you're recording in, yeah, has become so important now.
And even auditions will say, like, we're only accepting people who have Source Connect and in studio,
Yep.
blah, blah. And I'm like, wow, it's like, I
Yep.
don't even, Source Connect fries my brain. I don't even.
I do have Source Connect. I have used it, and it's still a little, yeah. When I first got it, it was a little crazy trying to make sure it all worked
Yeah,
correctly.
it
But
stresses me out.
um, I know, I know. I mean, and almost universally, when you get auditions from national agents, they are saying must have Source Connect, and not the one you can just go and get for a day. They want you to have the Source Connect Pro. That's the one that you actually bought and installed. So, that they are trying to really, they're differentiating,
Yeah,
between, because of that requirement, especially as you said with COVID, that they need to get really super duper quality from they need to get really super quality from people recording somewhere where they don't even know where they're recording.
yeah,
So they're trying to create that differentiator, saying, okay, well, if I put in Source Connect, then I know the connection's going to be really good, and I can record them, and at least I know that they've kind of invested in that. But again, at the end of the day, it always comes down to, as you had mentioned earlier, I always tell people, the having a good voice is really isn't the most important thing. It's, can you interpret copy, and can you take direction?
yeah,
And then the third thing is, to have a good voice, because you got to be able to do all those things. And the only way you're going to get good at them is if you get coaching. And as you said, you invest money in your career. It is a small business. It does cost money to get started, but the results will be indicative of the
mhm.
amount of effort and resources you put into it.
At the end of the day, for the most part, it pays for itself, so
Yep, exactly, exactly. So before we wrap up, where can people find you? Where are the best places to go to find out about you,
So
Rosie?
my handle on everything, like I said earlier, is IRL Rosie, all one word. So you can just type that in YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all the things. And my full name is Rosie Okumura. So you can just Google me all you want.
And then Moderns Music, where
And
is that going to be found?
modernsmusic.com is our website. And if you just type moderns, all one word, modern with an S, on all streaming platforms, you can listen to us there.
Perfect. Well, listen, it has been so much fun. I'm glad that we finally got together and got you on the podcast. And thank you so much for sharing your journey with our listeners. And I wish you continued success on your many journeys.
Thank you for having me, and thank you, everybody, for listening.
Thank you so much for joining me today on the Mike Lenz VO podcast. Head on over to MikeLenzVOpodcast.com for links and recaps of each show. Catch you next time on the Mike Lenz VO podcast.